Okay, so yeah, we're bringing up to more platforms. The platforms that we have immediately in the pipeline are the Apple II, which we're finalizing for production, the Macintosh 68K, which is coming up very fast, and the TRS-80 color computer, and as I mentioned before, the Atari 2600 version started working 2 days ago, so that's still very new. And we have people working in other corners as well, doing more long-term bring-ups. For example, we have a team working on the ZX Spectrum. We have a team working on the RC 2014 and even more machines. There were platforms that we've done in the past. I've tried to bring as many of the machines as I could here, but I only have so much bag space. And given the experience that I had with Spirit Airlines on Saturday, I'm not going to be checking machines into luggage ever again. So, yeah, there's even more here. So the goal here is to get it onto every single computer and game console that we can. And between those of us who currently work on the project, we have the expertise to do that. And then you can turn around once you've added your servers and stuff. Mount in. Here I am mounting a copy of Dragonfire off of the internet here, placing it in the first device slot. I've since tidied this up a bit. There are 4 active device slots instead of 8. There was no way to really do 8 for various reasons. But once we do that and we have Dragonfire mounted, well, we can bounce out of here, mount the disks, and then we can immediately look in direct. We have a directory here. There's Dragonfire ready to go. And it's loading this off of the internet here. Do the exec, and there's the game. So disk is working. So disk is working great. The other peripherals are working really well too. So yeah, there we go. Boom. So disk print and networking are working, and I will be showing off some applications for the networking side at VCF East in April. I wanted to get them ready here, but too many things that I'm working on at the present, so I couldn't get all of that done. There is a version for cartridge that Chris also prototyped as well, that basically brings everything onto the cartridge here. We have schematics, everything's worked out here. As soon as I get the boards here, I'll do the necessary changes to the firmware to make that work. So what's next for the color computer version? Applications. We need to take and port the existing applications that we have, like the weather, the newsreader, the ISS tracker, so that people have examples of how to use the various bits and pieces, how to do things like parse JSON and XML to talk to modern web services and the like, to get all of that in place. Never thought you'd see this, did you? So, yes, when we literally meant that we were going to support every platform under the sun in total world domination, we were not joking. We want to not only deal with the computers, but we want to get the consoles in on this too, and we can, thanks to the work. I'll put it this way. Every platform that we bring up gives us a vector to 10 more platforms that we can bring up, because we solve fundamental problems that help us further down the road. And the lessons that we learned from the Macintosh bring up for the fast bus interface have allowed Jeff Pietmeyer, our resident fellow microwave engineer / rocket scientist, to basically take and boot Pong on a prototype FujiNet here. Still a lot of work to do here, but we know now that the bus interface is going to work.
What's the
Right now, this is the bus front end, so this is the RP2040. So there's going to be, just like with the Mac version, there's going to be an RP2040 and an ESP32 right next to it.
Does the RP20 not have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth?
You can, but we want the faster processor on the ESP32 to handle the internet stuff, because it's got a faster processor and it's got 2 cores, and we use those 2 cores. So, one of the nice things here, if you're not familiar, there's a standard that sprung up over the last couple of years in the Atari 2600 community for adding cartridge functionality, which they call PlusCart. And it basically adds the hooks in a standard way to add hooks for things like Wi-Fi adapters and NVRAM, all sorts of extra features that can be easily embedded into Atari 2600 cartridges, and we intend to be compatible with that. So the big thing here is that we want to first and foremost do game loading over the internet. That will work, and it will provide a network device. And the reason for that network device is quite literally so that we can do our networked games. So this picture's been updated a couple of times since over the last day and a half since I did this slide here. There's a group over on a special 2600 forum that has actually taken to building a VCS kernel that can render out 8 sets of players with cards, which, if you know anything about how the Atari 2600 does its graphics, this is going to be one hell of an achievement, because you have to bit bang everything. And that's kind of a commentary with how this project has matured, because now we have people in totally unrelated projects just over in different corners helping us out, trying to solve various specific problems, and we're cross-pollinating and contributing code back and forth between each other. It's fantastic. So that brings us to the FujiNet game lobby. And if I figure out here, see, I can't see my show clock, and I have it running. Where are you? Oh, good. Okay, how am I doing on time? Well, that's fine. I can't. I lost my. There. There you are. Okay. Whew. Okay. Wow. Okay. I told you I was going to have to talk like the Micro Machines guy. So we have the FujiNet game lobby. And this is basically a place where you can say, if you have a game, a networked game that can be played by multiple players, it's a directory service. So we can say, this game is available over here. It can support this many players. And I'll just open up the Atari here to give a small little demonstration here. And I'll talk while I'm doing this here. You're loading up FujiNet, and if you've updated your FujiNet recently, you'll see that there's a new menu option that's appeared in the last few months that'll bring you to the game lobby. Pressing L will get you into the lobby, and you confirm it, and it is now booting the lobby over the network. And this lobby client is going to be connecting to our lobby server that's providing the directory service itself. Now you'll see right there, it stores, when the first time you log in, it will ask you for your name, and it will put that on the FujiNet and store that, so you don't have to type it in every time. But you'll see here that we have a series of different games of 5-card stud, but they all have different numbers of players that can be accepted. Some of them have bots, some of them don't. But you can take and select a game, or you can take and chat either in the chat window below, or you can zoom in to do full screen chat here. And, excuse me, come on, F2, is it? No, it should be. Why are you acting funny? Come on. There, okay. So, I'll take and just go into one of the rooms here. I'll take and press Option. And we have now, it's given me a link to the 5-card stud game, with all the information that's required to connect to that server passed back to the FujiNet. So that when this game finishes loading, it's going to grab that information from the FujiNet and it's going to take and use it to log in automatically. And looks like we've got a full table here, so you're watching as a spectator. But we have a multiplayer game that's happening right here. And I intend to take and bring this to all of the FujiNet platforms, including the Atari 2600. So, what you see right here is the potential for a whole new set of collaborative gaming, and I would love everyone to be able to participate. I'll go ahead and close here. So, when we talk about cross-platform gameplay, we talk about making different clients. What happened there? Apologies. Try that again. Of course, you saw the Atari version. We have versions that are in progress for the Commodore 64, for the Atari, and if it will let me do the display, really? Here, I'll do it this way. See, I normally use a 4K display, so all my icons have been pushed and hidden into the space in between. It's like, this is amazing.
Unsolved problem.
Yeah, this is hashtag first world problems. So here we go. Let me see if I can pull that again. So yeah, even on the Apple II. So, and yes, slight psychological manipulation there by a FujiNet. So, with that, let me see if I can get back to my... We also have, so hold on, let me come back. Lobby, of course, is written in C, and it's cross-platform. And here's the GitHub link so you can take and grab a copy and see the source code for yourself. 5-card stud is also written in C, so you can take and pull this down and help us port this as well. Everything that we do is on GitHub. So again, what's next for the game lobby? We've got Apple II, a Commodore, make clients for the Coleco, for the Atom, and of course the Coco. And more games too. If you guys have ideas for more games. Yes, I've heard Texas Hold'em 50 times. We should have done it first. I'll go ahead and say that. Sorry. So these are places where you can help. New game ideas, new ways of doing all of this, new platforms, etc. So, of course, there's lots more too. We have what are called high-score enabled games. And these are existing Atari games that we have taken, Dig Dug, Defender, etc., etc., etc. And we've added on the ability for it to not only save the high scores to a disk image, but to post those high scores to a website. So you can see we have a leaderboard right here for both Atari 8-bit and Coleco Atom, and we'll be adding more. The Atari 8-bit, we've got all of these games right here, and you can pick any one of them, like Defender, for example. And you can see these are updated in real time as the scores are posted. So you're able to take and do collaborative, basically competition with each other on these high scores. And it's very, very easy to implement. All the game has to be able to do is write to disk. That's it. And it just works. The other side of it is essentially that we have little scrapers that are written in C that run in the background and listen for changes to those disk images. And when they happen, it spits out a new high score board. Nice and simple. And of course, it's not only available for the Atari, but it's also available for the Atom too, which is really neat because the Atom had all these super games that had the ability to save their scores onto their digital data packs. So it was really easy to take and port that over to be used by the FujiNet. It was like 5 minutes worth of work. So all these wonderful things that we can do so that we can do things together. And we also have a network library in C that Mark Fisher has been wonderfully working on to make it real easy to take and write network applications, make cross-platform applications in C, and we're porting it to other languages on these targets as we get to them. So you have functions like being able to open connections, close them, read from connections, write to connections, and for the kitchen sink, for everything else, you've got IO control type functions as well. So you can do things like, well, I want to change, I want to get the HTTP headers, or I want to be able to parse some JSON, and so on. And in addition, all of the FujiNet control commands are also exposed via this library as well. So you can do things like automatically mount disks, eject disks, or change network configurations if you want to do it yourself, etc. You have full access to all of that, and it's all available in this GitHub right here. And we even have, Michael Sternberg has been doing a considerable amount of work on the network operating system. And this was where we asked a basic question. Do you have to have a D device on the Atari? No, you do not. It's not there when you first turn on an Atari without a disk drive. It doesn't exist. But all of the framework for adding all these other devices is there. So if you add a network device and you provide a way to boot into that network device, then you have something that can leverage the full power of the FujiNet and make things much simpler. You have much less memory consumption. You have, you can boot in, and you can see, for example, I put in an action cartridge here as an example here. So we boot in, we go to DOS, but wait, it's not DOS. We sit at a network prompt here. And you can do things like mount network resources. If you want to take and mount something on a TNFS server directly, you can. If you want to mount something on an FTP server or a web server directly, you can. It's just there. And we used this opportunity to add a whole bunch of other wonderful features too, such as an online help system that we're constantly adding to. This is all maintained on GitHub, so once it gets updated, it's everywhere. So you're able to find out all the different commands and things, and because you're talking to network endpoints, you've got things like being able to create and make directories for the protocols that support them, do batch processing, all of the above here. Even some support for XCP80, so you can run in 80 column mode, and so on. You have programmers' references that are provided here, and so this is a boon for software development as well. So right now, even with all of this, I haven't attached any network resources here. So if I do a directory, we see that it's saying, okay, we're not connected to anything right now. So all we really have to do to connect to something is set the prefix for a given service here, like connecting to my local TNFS file server here. And because I'm doing this over the network device, this allows you to use TNFS in a file-by-file method, in a file-by-file way, instead of just dealing with disk images or file systems in those disk images. And you can see right here that I'm bouncing through my workspace, and I have it over here, open up here on my over on the left, so you can see the correlation, and you're able to take and manipulate and go through different file systems. So you can literally see me going through, bouncing through my network resources, coming to one of my directories, and then immediately loading a binary file. In this case, a little logo that I did for the German ABAC group a few months ago. I was able to take and develop that and use all of that directly inside the network operating system itself. But we also have access to anything that the protocol adapters have access to. So any protocol adapter that's available on the end device, NOS can use directly. Like, say, for example, either a web server right here or an FTP site. And you can see me right here. I'm directly referencing a web link here. And I'm going to bounce down and load something directly off of that web server. I'm looking at the source code for a game called Frog that's on this web page here. Or we can come back into the action editor here, use that device resource directly, load that directly into Action. Action doesn't know how to deal with network resources. It doesn't have to. It just talks to the operating system. So it's just fetching that right across. And once you have that, there's the source code. I can edit it in. And if I had put permissions on that web server, I could save it right back. So you can take it, you can compile it, and actually what I'm doing here, you have 4 network devices that you have available to you that you can assign to different prefixes to look for different things. And right here, this is a Windows file share for a local file server that I have on my network at the house. And you can see the correlation here in the file window on the left, but also here on the right. Some bits and pieces of Action source code, and I'm going to save a copy of that source code that I pulled from the web server over onto my local Windows file server. It's like, okay, sure, fine. And we can quit from that, and finally, we can load the compiled executable directly, and that's actually being pulled off of the web server, but I could have done it from any network resource. It just works. So that's really the power of the network operating system, because all of the heavy lifting is happening inside the FujiNet. So if we make protocol adapters or adapters for other file systems or whatnot to run on the FujiNet, NOS will be able to use them directly. And of course, like everything else, the source code is available so you can see how we actually did this, how we actually implemented the end handler, etc. And these are all places also where you can help. So, I'll end the talk here and say, well, what can you do? Well, come to the Discord. There's a link right here, and I will provide the talk notes for all of this to anybody who wants it. So you can get all of these links, all of these wonderful bits of information. And I will be posting this publicly on the FujiNet website as well. You can get a FujiNet, or you can install FujiNet PC on your own machine to hack on code. And as we get to more and more emulators, that will become possible for more and more users. If you can pick up a soldering iron and you're comfortable with dealing with these components, you can help build FujiNets for your communities. And of course, let people know about this thing. Let them know what you can do. And let's try to take and build a community together. Now with that, that's the end of my presentation here. Does anybody have any questions? You can get into the NOS by actually, yes, I should have brought that up. One of the nice things that you can do is you can boot up your FujiNet and you can go to a file server that I have up called apps.errata.online. It has tons of software on there, but one of the things that it does have is a folder called DOS. And DOS has a lot of great disk operating systems in here. All the Atari DOSes here are available, and they have the end handler with them, so you can use them and capitalize on them. But there is a copy of NOS right here, and all we have to do to go to it is literally mount it into drive 1, and boot it. And you can see it booted up very fast. There, done. And that's how you get to it. And of course you got help. Boom. Next question?
So Tom, I just wanted to say, first off, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, the entire FujiNet community and everyone that contributes to it. It's an amazing device. I don't think that people truly understand that this is not your day job and that you're not a retro storefront and that you're not selling things, that you're doing this in the true spirit of community and bringing this up to preserve what we have, what we've had, you know, for the last 40 plus years in various computers, and just really appreciate the efforts of the whole team. This is amazing work.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you. Thank you. This is, I will take that moment to basically say that FujiNet is, in a big way, it's a love letter to all of these communities. Because I grew up with, because of my situation and how I grew up, I was exposed to all of these platforms. And when I say all of them, I mean all of them. I had many computers in the basement. So I mean, I was aware of all of this stuff and I used all this stuff and I learned how all these different machines worked. And so this is my opportunity to take the expertise that I've gathered together to take and make something for all of you.
It's awesome. I want to share as well, as a layman, I did not understand this, but my husband is the bit nerd, and I edited his video on FujiNet, and that was a learning process for me, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
that is really cool.
It really was a wonderful opportunity because, I mean, like, when we started this project, Moswald was just wanting to do a modem. He was just like, because connectivity solutions on the Atari are very lacking. They're kind of awkward to use, and we wanted to do something simple. And for me, my brain is like an integrator. If I see a chance to connect a dot, I will connect the dot. And it so happened that, you know, Moswald had hooked up all of the pins on the connector to that chip and went, well, do you have the command pin connected up? Oh, you do? Huh. Wonder if I could make this thing act like a disk drive. And we just kind of, it went from there, and it became this mushrooming, and soon enough, we were doing all these different things, and it became evident what we could actually bring to all of these communities and to make something truly unique. So yeah, it was, believe me, it's a surprise to me too. Yeah.
So you mentioned something, and I'm sorry, I didn't like support, I didn't miss this part. But you said you want to bring every platform and
Yes.
game consoles.
Yes.
So like, talk about like making a FujiNet cartridge for the NES or
Yes.
something like that.
Yes.
Cool.
The reason that we're able to do that, I mentioned that before. It's all about every bring up that we do gives us a vector onto 10 more. And the work that Jeff Piepmeyer has been doing on a generic bus interface, the work that Owen Reynolds has been doing on the ZX Spectrum, will let us talk to anything with a card edge. And that's all a game console is. It's a computer without a keyboard. It doesn't have as much memory. That's okay. But it's got this connector where the cartridge goes. That's a bus. We can deal with that.
The other platforms, does that include the printer support for those also, or
Sorry?
the printer support, is that also on the other platform?
We will try, yeah. We will try to bring all of the different FujiNet devices that are present in our firmware. So FujiNet is, at its core, a giant chunk of firmware with a bunch of different emulated devices. And depending on the different target platforms, we expose those devices out to the target system. On the Atari, that was easy because you had this whole device system that they had put into place. So we were able to take and connect those pieces up. On other platforms, we've had to do different things to bring out these individual devices. So as we find ways to integrate them out, we bring them out. The thing to understand about the FujiNet is that it is primarily a software platform that's facilitated by, it's a software-defined device. So as we find ways to integrate better, we push out more and more updates to enable more and more features. Like on the Apple II, for example, we were the first Apple II device to do character device transmission over the smart port. Apple defined it, nobody ever used it. We came in, we showed that it works, and so we exposed the printer and all these other devices over that link. So now the challenge there, for example, is to do ROM changes or to do better hardware integrations to make those available to more programs on the Apple II, for example. On the Commodore, well, it's all IEC, so it's just the printer was IEC, the disk drive was IEC, so it just works there, and so on and so on. Yeah.
You know, they're coming out with the little mini emulated devices. They're coming out with the Atari 400. Has anyone considered that adding that functionality?
Jeff?
Would be awesome to have a console, and now you have access to the whole world.
Jeff Petemeyer has some ideas on that, on the Mini 400. Stay tuned. Can't say anything just yet because it's still speculation at this point, but we have some, we do plenty of experimentation. So if we can find a way to do it, we'll do it. We're just crazy enough to try it. Yeah.
I wasn't aware of this, but I'm very active in the RC 2014 community, and I didn't know that was even involved.
Yes.
So what's the status of hardware for?
Justin Skists has basically made an RC 2014 card that implements the FujiNet, puts the ESP32 on the bus, and he's done the integration. He's ported over some of the network applications. The best thing that you can do for that one, because he's been quietly working, FujiNet's weird, okay? We're like a giant tree fort, and people come in, they work off on their own little corners, and if they ask me questions or something, I help facilitate them, do their little thing, whatever. But when they have something, they come into the middle and say, look at what I have. And they show it off, and then we go, oh, that's cool. And the people start picking from it, and then they go off into their corners again. So with the RC 2014, come to the Discord, tug on Jay Skist's shoulder, and he will let you know what you need to do and to get this going. He's been, so many of us are busy with life, so things happen in bursts. So, yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.